four-time Miss Olympia Jay Cutler. Welcome to my channel, Jay Cutler TV, and make sure to stay in tune with the newest and updated videos. Subscribe below, guys. Thank you so much for following along.
All right, so Shane wants to know about my diet because he sees me posting on Instagram. I'm kind of just shortening this up, but he sees me posting on Instagram the meals that I eat. He wants to know how it differs today than when it did when I was training for, obviously, the Mr. Olympia competition. Well, you know, I eat probably half as much now. So whereas I was eating 10 to 12 to, you know, sometimes, I mean, up to a pound of meat a meal, I probably eat 5 ounces, maybe 6 ounces each time for chicken breast and steak. And by no means am I going vegan or anything like that. I mentioned, you know, my breakfast is still the biggest meal of the day. That's pretty much what I ate getting ready for Mr. Olympia. A lot of carbohydrates, a lot of protein. You know, I have the 2 cups of egg whites. I have a couple whole eggs. You know, I have the Nziko bread, which has protein in it. And then, of course, a lot of carbohydrates. But, you know, I am not as restrictive with the kinds of foods that I eat where, you know, I eat a little looser. So people ask me about cheat meals all the time. I basically eat how I feel. I don't really cheat that much, but I'll have, you know, a couple chips here and there, or, you know, if I want to snack on something, I'll just, you know, have some nuts or whatever else, maybe some fruits. I'm not afraid to eat that stuff now. But, you know, when I was focusing on the show, I was eating 7 meals a day, whereas now I probably eat 4 to 5 meals a day, and obviously mega fit meals. Anyone that follows me on social knows that, like, those meals are like really big in terms of, you know, what, you know, how I kind of structure my meal plan. But I always cook my breakfast at home. That's always the first meal, and I always tend to cook that at home. Don't really like to eat out a lot of breakfast because I like to get my early morning start, and as you guys know, I do my cardio prior to that usually when I'm home. And then when I'm on the road, I just try to copy what I do pretty much at home. But I eat every 3 hours. That's the main thing. Okay, so question about, I'm going to answer this question because I know a lot of people ask about it, but this is actually a drug question, okay, about testosterone replacement. Okay, so someone's asking me about, you know, they're a little bit older, which isn't too old, over 30 years old, and they hear that the testosterone level drops down. There's a lot of variables to this. Everyone genetically has different times where, you know, their testosterone. I would suggest going to a doctor, getting their blood test. If their testosterone is low, talk to the doctor about maybe getting a script for testosterone. You don't need a lot of it, basically to replace what you're losing from your natural testosterone. Remember, the diet's going to be very important for that. Your sleep patterns, obviously your stress levels. You know, it makes a huge difference. But let me tell you something. I mean, it's something that you really should check, especially once you get 35, 40 years old. If you're feeling super tired, you know, just go to your doctor and have your test levels taken. Especially you guys that have used steroids in the past. I would always suggest, as you get into a later age, doesn't matter if you just did 1 cycle when you were 19, you know, once you start messing with your natural testosterone, your body's never going to really bounce back right. So you got to be smart about it. But make sure you consult your doctor. That's the most important thing. You don't need a lot. Everything is derivative basically off testosterone, but follow what the doctor says, and of course, you know, do everything the legal way. It's much easier to do. Okay, that's my suggestion on that. Training. So I have a question here on, you know, the volume training versus like the heavy duty training that Mike Menser, Dorian Yates started. That was a good question, actually, because I always focused from day one on volume training. And I mentioned that, like, I never got into like that Dorian Yates. Of course I was a fan of Dorian Yates, right? But I never trained to absolute failure. And a lot of people are surprised. I never did drop sets, never did supersets. I always trained more to fatigue the muscle, but stop before the thing get totally exhausted. And of course, my rest times were very short, 45 to 60 seconds between each set. I think that keeps the intensity levels up. But I would do 20 sets of body part. Very common. For back and legs, I do up to 30. I spent an hour and a half in the gym at the most, never more than 2 hours. And that was strictly doing weight training sessions. And obviously that would be training with people. That's when my time would be a little longer would be being stuck in the gym. There's just, the time between sets should be 45 to 60 seconds. Some of the larger sets maybe a minute and a half, maybe something like that. But try to get your quick recovery and then keep hitting the weights. Okay, focus on repetitions, 8 to 12 reps. I always say that, but just try to have that schedule. I train each body part once every 5 to 7 days. Next question about gyms in Vegas. Someone's coming to Vegas. They want to know about best gyms. There's so many. Okay. Today we trained at EOS Fitness. There's ones all over the valley. There's LVACs all over the valley. You want to get into hardcore stuff? Lift Factory up near me. Very small gym, but it's awesome. It's good for the hardcore. It's got the murals on the walls. City Athletic Club is always a great place to train. A little darker atmosphere, but more of that intimate feeling type. It's a really good club. Jay Jung has a great club over there. And there's some few private clubs in there. The Self-Made is where a lot of people are training now. But preference for me, I train mostly at those gyms. EOS Fitness, Lift Factory, City Athletics, and LVACs, which Las Vegas Athletic Club, they're all over the valley. Okay, so there's a lot of different things, okay? Shows. So we got a guy that asked about the shows. I always try to promote the Jay Cutler shows, which take place all over the country, but I have 5. Okay, I have one in Wyoming, usually in June. I have one in Virginia in August. I always have one. It's actually March 20th. Is it March or April? I think it's April 20th of 19. Okay, that's the Vegas Desert Classic. And then I have the 2 Boston shows. The Jay Cutler Classic was always in end of April, and then the New England's is in November. So it's coming up now. This is the last one of the year. So there's 5 total. I do have those shows that I promote. I have different partners on these shows. Kevin DeHaven, Virginia show. I do the 2 with Remy between Wyoming and Vegas, and then of course the 2 with Steve Weinberger, who's the chairperson out in New York City. By the way, we are planning January to do a big training, not a training camp, but like a workshop to teach about posing and have some guest speakers, and that's going to take place at Bev Francis Powerhouse Gym. Stay tuned for that because that will be in January. Okay.